Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're going to be doing a bunch more processing, but today is day 4 on this kiln cycle of that extremely wet wood that we put in there. So I'm going to check on it here. I ended up doing a totally different cycle so far than what I normally do, just because of how much moisture was in there, and it was high. I mean, I saw the moisture go up to what I see. I haven't checked the app or nothing, but it was in the upper 50s, and that's venting at all times. So the first, I want to say, I'd have to look, day and a half, I was inducing fresh air and extracting air while heating it all at the same time for a day and a half. I don't ever really do that. I'm always exhausting or venting out the moisture at 24/7. Otherwise it just builds up too much. So today will be day 4 in a few hours, and we're right on pace. The internal part of the wood's holding at 150. So, and then I brought in yesterday, this is all going to one customer. I mean, look how dry this stuff is. I mean, you could just tell by like that piece there, but everything is, I mean, it's just stupid dry. So all of this, all these, all to one customer. This is oak with that back row. That goes in the kiln next. Let me count this, because for some reason it doesn't look right. 6 plus, no, that's right, 10. And it's supposed to rain today, tomorrow, so I wanted to get the wood over here, the backwood, which that oak, I didn't moisture test it, but it looks dry. I mean, it's crazy, like what the being out in the wind and sun will do. It's not, this is not, I mean, this stuff is heavy. It's got a pretty good good jump start for before it goes in the kiln. So I mean, you can't always look at it and be like, oh yeah, it looks dry. Like a customer would see that and be like, oh, you know, it's got all these cracks. But that's all red oak and white oak, pin oak, live oak as well. It's not dry. So, but when she comes out of the kiln, that is extremely dry. It's just good to get a jump start to pre-season the wood before you want to throw it in the kiln. So we're still chipping away at some of this. That only sits for a few days, and then it gets, we stack as we go, and I just keep dumping more and more. But I can tell you this right now. So in a pile, yeah, it's not open on the back side. There's no airflow on the bottom. But like I said, some of this in the back was there when we got all that rain, right? The top layer, completely dry. I pulled it over. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but everything in the middle is soaking wet. And I mean wet. It just gives you a little telltale sign on big mounds of wood does not dry. It may dry a little, but it's not dry. So you will never, ever see me do that. And if I did, all that wood would eventually have to go into the kiln. You know, every time I want to put wood in this thing, it just gets done with a burn cycle. It's like comical. I don't know why I even check. So, yeah, to each their own. I feel like if you had a really good area with high wind, maybe, and you did a big pile like that, it may. I just think you would have to let that wood sit for 2 years, and then keep, like, maybe somehow rotate the wood. I don't know. Yeah, trust me, it would be so nice to not have to stack wood. You know, you just scoop from it and give a good guesstimate of how much wood you're giving somebody, unless you have your perfect dump truck and you know exactly what it is, loosely filled, trailer, whatever it may be. Versus the exact quantities every time if it's stacked. You know, because this looks like a ton of wood here. It probably doesn't tell on camera, but that up top, that's about, for sure, 9-10 feet. Big pile. I mean, you really just have no idea how much wood this is. I mean, you can guesstimate, you know, it may look like a lot, but that's nothing. That's That's 2 loads of wood in my trailer, okay? So that's roughly 7 cords of wood. It looks a lot more than that, but it's not. I mean, I would burn that all, you know, for sure in the winter time. So I don't know. Versus stacking it into a tote, double stacking would take up less space than what that does. But that's just my opinion. People can do it the way they want to do it. Now, splitting off into a tote, loosely filled, yes, I wouldn't have to touch the wood. Yes, you're getting less wood into the tote, and I wouldn't have to touch it. Okay, that's a good possibility, but I don't care what processor you have, what machine you have, unless you're splitting off like a box wedge or the, you know, like the Yappa system perfect split, which is a box wedge too, you know. I don't care if you got a cleaner of some sort. You're still going to have pieces that bypass or get past you that are big, or, you know, too big, right? That need to be resplit. Now, I think it depends on like your customer base, you know, if they're okay with like occasionally. So here, this is boiler wood, right? So I don't care what size it is. I just split it real quick. This was all green spruce. So you have like your normal size splits, right? For firewood, like wood stoves, and then say you have this. Not saying this would ever get past me on the processor, but it has from time to time. If I'm splitting a 22, 24 inch round, you're gonna get this off of the 12 way, right? Now, if that goes straight into a loosely filled tote, one of my customers would be pissed if that showed up. So the only way I would ever loosely go into a tote, I had a disc cleaner, right? You're gonna get 80+% cleaner wood going in there. Will you still have, you know, some of this stuff, right? You would have some of this, right? Because this would get past the cleaner. And this is a small piece. I think that would be okay. You know, you're still gonna get little chunks like this. That's not 16 inches. Would somebody be okay with that? I don't know. I wouldn't be personally if I paid good money for that. I would have to slow down my process when I'm splitting, right? Which slows me down, but I don't have to stack. So I think that would be okay to make sure whatever goes through the wedge is resplit. Now I would probably do that if I had a disc cleaner where I'm just loosely filling totes, and all I'd have to do is move the totes, stack them in the drying yard, and then I'm done. So I don't know. I would probably still stack a lot of wood, but then maybe in the winter time I don't. I just loosely fill them because it's cold and who wants to be outside? Yes, I could bring them in here. I don't know. So I'm always trying to evolve to speed up the process, but if I loosely fill, now I need even way more totes than I already have. And I already need more and more and more to try to keep up with production and drying and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's I'm always thinking of ways, but you'll never see me do a big pile. As much as I would like to be lazy and do that, I'm not going to do that. Not to say that's lazy, but it just doesn't dry. I don't think there's any good way to scoop it without having debris. I don't know. I like how it looks in a big ass pile like that, but I just don't, I don't know. I'd have to have some super custom floor, concreted or something with ravines or whatever for airflow, which I'm never going to do that unless I had the wood sit for 2 years, and then I would have to be splitting even more than I do now, and I don't want to do that to get ahead. That'd be crazy. That'd be a full-time job all day, every day. Not that I don't do that now, but that would be some serious amount of wood. I'm just kind of getting off tangent here. Well, I am going to be processing wood this morning. I got to feed the boiler quick, make sure that's good for the whole day. It probably is good because I put a ton of wood in there, but spruce, the same amount of wood compared to hardwood, you need twice as much. I don't care what anybody says. It burns clean, I give you that. Once you get past the initial burn cycle in this thing, it can be running full pin and you can't even tell what's coming out the stack. It's just heat. Versus, I think, hardwood, unless it's extremely dry, Heat recovery is good. It just does not last long, and I think we all know that. That's why we all prefer hardwood. So, all right, I'm gonna put some wood in the boiler, and I'm gonna get back to processing wood here. I'm gonna fill that trailer. I got storm damage to do tomorrow, which is Sunday, and then we got a busy week. I got a lot of deliveries to do on Monday. A lot of wood going out, so yeah, stay tuned, guys. All right, guys. Well, that was a successful day so far. Hopefully I got some decent clips. The wife was doing a little bit of recording. So we got the trailer almost as full as you can get it. I know it's always hard to tell, but she's packed. That's probably 3.5-ish cords of wood. Yep, boiler tote is mounted pretty good. Usually I don't go that high, but I'm pretty low on totes at the moment, so I should be able to move that without dumping any. You got a little bit here. So typically it's a tote and a half of boiler wood when the trailer gets full. Debris, that's full. Usually it's every trailer. I got to clean out this one and the back one. Look at all the bark that's come off. This stuff, most of the bark is all from the elm. Usually I don't have this. If I let it get this bad, it's like 3 weeks of processing. I'm glad it's off. It's just less, it makes the wood a lot easier to dry. So got a little bit of cleanup to do in here. It's all the bark. It's all from the elm too, which is understandable. Definitely got to get in there, clean that. I'll get all this clean before the next time. Should check on the fuel because I haven't added fuel in quite some time. So what I did a couple weeks ago, not a couple weeks, about a little over a week ago, took a picture of the hour meter when I filled this. I mean, it was to the top. I couldn't get an extra drop in there. And we're still a little less than half. I tell you what, this thing is extremely fuel efficient. I mean, it's crazy. When it's running, it'll tell you like gallons per minute or hour, gallons per hour. When it's fully revved up without using it, it's right at a gallon. That's what it says. And obviously when you're cutting and whatever, it probably goes up a tad bit more, which I don't even think it's that because I've processed a lot in the last week. Well, maybe, because I've done, I'd have to look in my chart how many trailers I've done. I think I've done 4-ish. And I'll do the math per gallon, what it comes out to be, cost to make, not including the grease and whatnot, but that's doing pretty good. It makes it pretty easy for me to pull that out. I bring the tractor bucket here, I dump it in there. This one's getting pretty full too. I got to come up with a better way to move this because when I rotate the the conveyor, I got to drag this. Once this is all concrete, it won't be bad. I could just have a pallet jack and rotate it or have it on casters. But this is from a lot of processing. Probably 2 months worth, which I'm glad it's here versus going in the trailer. So, but there's a lot of this that ends up in there. I mean, you could just see it. Hopefully you can see. There's a lot of debris in there. Hence why I really need a disc cleaner. Because you take all that debris out of there, let's say 90% of it, A, I could get a lot more in there. B, it makes stacking the wood, grabbing it, so much better. When you have a huge mound of wood with all that debris in there, I mean, one trailer worth of debris is probably 3 full of my tractor buckets, which I don't think I have my bucket over here, no, is a pretty good sized bucket. That's a lot of debris, and if I can minimize that going in the trailer, it will make the second process of stacking the wood a hell of a lot easier, like a lot easier. And depending on how clean it would actually get, like I said in the beginning of the video, I may slow down processing and just let it billow into a until an IBC tilt loose, as long as I kind of catch the resplits. Because I'd say a full trailer worth, right off the processor, there's about a face quarter resplits. Now that may not seem like a lot, but to me it is. I mean, some of them are, you could let them slide, and then some are like, okay, it's pretty big, you know. And I wouldn't want to give a customer a wheelbarrow worth of that per face cord, you know. Especially when I deliver, like for an example, I'm delivering 3 on Monday to a customer, and I got to go back to do another 2 later on in the week. So it adds up. Some people would be okay with that. Some would be like, I don't know. So like I said, it just depends on how well a disc cleaner would work. I really need one. That's kind of like my bottleneck right now. I mean, as you grow with any business, you're always going to need more and more equipment, depending on if you want to scale or not, which I do. So sawdust collection is about as full as you're really going to get. You can see the line. I could probably do another handful of logs. Another question I do get a lot is, how often do I have to sharpen my my chain on here, or switch it out or whatever? Typically every trailer, so about every 3 cords. When I get to the 3rd cord-ish, like today for an example, the wood was, there was some bigger logs that had a lot of rot, but it was hollow in the middle with a lot of dirt. And it got dull pretty quick. And I sharpen them pretty custom, where it's really aggressive, huge gullet in there, and it usually stays sharper longer, and it throws some massive chips. And I got the rakers or the guides really down, and it cuts fast. But so I usually have 3 chains ready to go just in case you hit some metal, which I've, knock on wood, never have yet. I think I hit one little nail, but it just ripped right through there. So yeah, every 3-ish cords. Sometimes I push it out to 6, depending on how good quality of the wood is. I mean, if it's straight grain, perfect rounds, no dirt, you can cut a long time, but that's not usually how it goes. I mean, it's just not. So on average, it's about every 3, which is fine. It's real easy to take off. I'll probably take that bar off, put the other bar that I have all dressed up, ready to go with the new freshly sharpened chain on. So those chains last me quite some time, because I just take off just enough to get it back to as sharp as you're gonna get, you know. So beats hand filing. I mean, I tell you what, if you had to hand file all that, that's a lot of filing, and my wrist and stuff just can't do that anymore when you're doing it every day with a lot of teeth. So I use my grinder, which makes it so precise. Every tooth is as close as you're gonna get to being the same. So, but yeah, a little bit of what's going on. I got a tree job we're doing tomorrow on the weekend. Yes, storm damage, so we'll get that done. And then I got to load up wood tomorrow night for my big delivery in the morning. Then I got another delivery later in the day. And then probably right back to doing what I'm doing right now. I'm getting low on logs. I have a little bit down below. I have some up here. This is probably 1.5-ish cords of wood. And then I probably have maybe one down there, so it'll give me another trailer worth. I got a bunch of cherry to do, some oak. This is all boiler wood here, locust, and this is some of that willow we took out of the lake. I'll just use my big saw, cut them up a little bit, rip them, throw them into a tote. Let me look at the size of this thing. That was pretty much off the base. Like I said, I'll just rip those and put them in a tote and throw them in the boiler in a couple months, because this stuff is soaked. But once they get ripped up, it'll dry out to be a feather and have no BTU worth. So, but it'll go in the boiler. Most of this locust, small stuff I'll just chuck in sometime before winter. I'll rip that stuff up. Probably spend the day ripping, doing the norm. We've got some good sugar maple here. That's pretty much what I think every stick of wood here is. Yeah, and a stick of elm, a couple sticks. Otherwise it's all sugar maple, which is phenomenal wood. So all right, well, I'm gonna get this dumped, call it a day. I got a bunch of stuff I got to do before tomorrow, and some maintenance. I got to sharpen my chain on my my chainsaw. I got real dull when we were there in the water and all that. So, but all right, well, hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what you guys think. Man, it's a lot of debris. I tell you what, though, I cannot wait for this to be concrete. It'll just make cleanup so much better. There's really not much I can do about that. I mean, like I said before, I'll probably raise this up another 2-3 inches maybe to have a bigger bladder underneath. That's working out great though. That way I can get another one a little bit further back, because the sawdust is pretty bad back there. It's not terrible. I mean, once I pull them out, I can just rake that stuff out. So most of the debris is maintainable. That's not bad. I can scoop that, burn that stuff. So it doesn't matter what machine you have, you're always going to have this. I don't care what machine it is, you're always going to have to clean up. But making the final product would be nicer to have it a little bit cleaner, because not only that, I will definitely, wherever I have it set up, have it where it's accessible, where I can drive in with my tractor and dump a tote slowly into the disc cleaner to get those fines out again once the wood is dry. Because we all know, if you stack it into a tote and then dump it eventually, you have the bark that falls off, some of the sawdust that may have been stuck to it is clinging to it, and once you dump it, it all comes off. It just makes for a cleaner product, you know, at the delivery time. So, and that's what I'm all about. So yes, one day I'll have one and it'll get put to work, let me tell you. So, but I tell you what, this machine, I absolutely love it. I don't know if I would really change anything about it. It's nice. It'd be nice if there was like 2 saws where when one gets dull, you could just start using the other one. I mean, that'd be kind of stupid, but it'd be kind of cool. I don't think it would be too hard to use. Just maybe use a different lever, but all in all, it's all good. Wedge works like it's supposed to. I mean, 90% of the logs I get are not too big, but the sweet spot on this with this wedge without having resplits is right around 14 inches. 14 inches makes the perfect size wood on there. I'd say 12 to 16 is ideal. The bigger stuff's fine. All the bottoms get perfectly split. The tops I just flip back over and you're all good. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys think. But as always, keep burning.